Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Kindness Habit. I am so excited to have my guest with me today because I met her first 15 years ago. And I'll never forget, I was sitting at a luncheon. She was on stage talking about how she had started the Children's Cancer Association. I left that lunch and I was so inspired that I became a member of their ambassador boards. And I was a chemo pal and I did Christmas in July. And it's been a really big part of my life. I actually even wrote about it in my kindness habit in chapter 4 about as a volunteer for the organization, how I felt so appreciated with so many handwritten notes and kind gifts and great relationships. So when you leave this podcast, when you listen to it, you're going to get ideas about how you can make a difference in your community and also overcome some challenges in your life and turn it around to really make a bigger impact. So please help me welcome my friend, Regina Ellis, calling in from Portland, Oregon.
Hey, it is fantastic to be here. Yay!
I'm so excited to see you.
Yeah.
So you have made a huge change in my life. Just the Children's Cancer Association was such a big part of my life. I was so inspired by you. You started this in 1995, correct?
Correct. It's been, I think, 27 years now.
So will you tell the listeners why you started CCA? And then I just want to talk about in 27 years, the impact that your idea has had.
I'd be honored. But let me start with saying what a privilege it is to be here with you, Allison. And I also remember meeting you in the audience many, many years ago, and how important it is for organizations like the Children's Cancer Association, like every organization in the world, to have meaningful contributions of leadership, of kindness, of impact and joy around the table to help organizations kind of create a pathway to their future. And thank you for being such an important leader at CCA for many, many years, and somebody who I could pick up the phone and ask questions and get counsel and support over many years. So thank you for the impact you made. And it is such an important model for others because we can do what we love and share what we love with others and just make the world a better place for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, briefly, I have the incredible honor to be the Chief Joy Officer and the founder of Children's Cancer Association. And as you shared, it started around my kitchen table after an incredible experience going through pediatric cancer with Alexandra, our oldest daughter. And Alex really taught us about facing life and its greatest challenges, like our mortality, with the power of joy. And Alex did that just instinctually. And we were students of life again, and learning through the eyes of Alexandra how to create magic through music, through friendship, through nature, and how that power of joy in moments really became a lifeline for Alex. And when she died, we created an organization that would do that for others. And the Children's Cancer Association, over almost 3 decades, have raised over $80 million, invested 80 cents of every dollar back into programs serving kids here in the region of Pacific Northwest, and in over about 30 children's hospitals, Allison, across the nation. So we have the privilege to deliver joy to help improve the mental and emotional health of hospitalized kids in ways through music and mentorship and nature, and are really proud to do that with the help of hundreds of thousands of donors and leaders like you who bring joy to kids in a greatest moment of need.
Oh my gosh. So what has been the biggest impact from your point of view as far as I remember when I was a chemo pal, which is now called a JoyRx mentor, we would fill up a toy bag and go into the hospital, and we'd be paired with a kiddo and just have those moments to, even if it was for an hour, to bring a little bit of joy. And then the music carts would go into the hospital. I know, I'm not sure what they're doing right now with COVID, but when I was involved, we would have the music actually go into the rooms of the children. What's the biggest impact? And I know that there's also a lot of research behind this, but in the 27 years, what have you seen the biggest impact from the play and the music and even the caring cabin that people can go in and really enjoy nature? What have you seen really impact children with all that joy?
Great question. I think that back almost 30 years ago, joy was not a part of our environment like it is now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing it on branded to food, to apparel, to activities that we can engage in. But people were really shocked when we started to talk about the power of joy in a pediatric cancer facility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what we knew just by visual experience, kind of behavioral experiences that we saw with Alex was when kids are facing medical trauma and very difficult challenges, why kids are in the hospital with like life-threatening illnesses or car accidents, diseases, chronic illnesses. They get kind of extracted out of the beauty of childhood, right? Of the natural joys that come from being with others, being on the soccer field, playing chess, right? Painting, just, cooking in your kitchen with your people. And kids are put in a very adult environment, hooked to IVs and battling diseases and really challenging experiences. What we saw is something that over the course of these last few decades, research now supports, that kindness matters, right? That generosity of spirit, of warmth and compassion for people helps people live longer, right? Helps them thrive in the work and home environment, right? And what we see with joy is its ability. Joy is different than happiness, right? Happiness is a state of being. Joy is like a spark of elation, right? You're diverted from whatever you're doing and you feel that sense of awe and joy. And then you go back to another feeling, right? And so what we see is our programs are able to provide at the bedside of kids that spark of joy, a diversion from treatment of pain. It reduces anxiety, anticipation of pain, and it makes kids feel better. So science supports the power of joy in a hospital environment as a new modality of treatment. And we know also that it translates into our own lives, into our work, into our teams, and people do better, and teams are strengthened. And we feel a sense of purpose in the work that we're doing when we can have those emotional exchanges. So that's a little bit.
Oh, for sure. And it was so different in 1995 because you didn't have any of that, and you were bringing everything in yourself to Alex's room, correct?
Right. Yeah. What we knew was instinctually, this is working. Let's do more of this. And what we developed were programs that were based in some of the early science of music therapy, and created music specialists and music experiences for kids. What we knew was some of our experiences in nature, how it feels to be standing among trees and being outdoors and not being in a hospital environment, right? And how that made us all feel better, and took some of the early emerging science around that and created opportunities for kids to be in the wilderness, to be outside, to be with their family at a private lake, and have experiences. If they were in the terminal phase of an illness or through a treatment, protocol, et cetera. we saw the power of mentorship, a program you were involved in. We saw that with kids facing socioeconomic challenges, but we did not in the United States yet have that same type of mentor program that would help kids that were hospitalized during core parts of their childhood or young adult lives. And so that impact, we know, improves mental and emotional health and is an important component in a treatment plan for kids. And so super proud that CCA were early innovators 3 decades ago. We're advocates and champions in pediatric health and healthcare, and had the privilege to explore the science of joy and working clinical trials with hospitals and families and children to validate that. And that is a lot of work that we'll be doing in the future at Children's Cancer Association, Allison.
Wow. Well, I wish I could have met Alex because she sounded like such an amazing human, and she still inspires me. So you talk about, excuse me, her live list, and she would write a list of things that she wanted to do while she was alive. And you would talk about how they were very simple and fun, So what were a couple that stood out to you? Because I have my live list based on my inspiration from Alex, but what are a couple things? I think that's really relatable to people. It's like to not wait. It's like, what do you want to do right now that brings us joy? But what were a couple that you remember that really stood out with Alex that she really wanted to do?
Oh gosh, that makes me smile. A conversation that I have had with all 3 of the kids, Alex being the oldest, she'd be 31 now. Zachary just turned 30. And our youngest, Kate, is 26. The question that we asked, even as they were very young children and today around a dinner table, is, what is life asking of you? And what do you, as you inhabit the earth for whatever time you have, what do you want to do? And that important question was posed to Alexandra when she was probably 4, when she was in the hospital half of every month, right? On high dose chemotherapy, blood transfusions, Western, Eastern medicine, right? And part of her live list was to go to the beach and take her shoes off and wiggle her toes into the cold Pacific Northwest beaches, right? It was to plant sweet peas in a garden. It was to have a big, huge root beer float in one of these, I think she had seen these big monster mugs, right? It was to tie-dye a t-shirt.
Yes.
And so we really just tracked those things down. And I think, like you, it's important for us all to think about, what is life asking of us? And when we're intentional, what we know is when we write things down on a list, we have a 90% chance of actually, accomplishing those goals or some, variation of those. I mean, you probably know that. That, right? You teach and inspire others through your workshops and leadership classes. So again, we were young parents and we thought about those things. And before Alex died, we crossed off everything on her list. And that root beer float was one of the last things that we brought her in bed that she enjoyed with a big smile and these big blue eyes. And we felt proud that although her life was very short, 5.5, almost 6 years, that she lived a beautiful life full of rich experiences, meaningful to her at that age. And our memories that we have as a family now today. Alex has been dead for 27 years and she lives, in our home and around the table with us. And our live lists are important, we believe.
Oh my gosh, I believe too. It is the power of figuring out what you want to do right now, not to wait, writing it down. And then one other piece of Alex that I learned only recently was the logo for CCA is a purple heart. And Alex's favorite color was purple, correct?
It was.
Yes. But I did not know, and I'm going to put her, with your permission, the drawing that she drew, you said days before she died. She drew this beautiful drawing. And how would you describe it to the listeners who are not watching the video?
Well, you can see kind of right behind me. I have my baseball cap on. I don't know if you can see Alex's heart, but she was an incredible artist. All of the kids are incredible artists. I am not, so I'm in awe of being able to put color and watercolor and acrylics to paper, right? But Alex, like 4 days before she died, had in her room a kind of bed table that she had all sorts of Pentel pens of every color, right? And she made a garden of sunflowers, beautiful. You could see the grass underneath and probably 8 sunflowers, and each sunflower had a heart, and the heart had these rays. And when we thought about creating an organization that would bring joy to young children and young adults in hospital, we took that artwork as an inspiration of how joy radiates, and how we can share it, and how we can get and enjoy joy. And it became kind of the symbol of what we do every day as CCA, and Alex's kind of honor. So yeah, that's
and it's such a beautiful, it's such a beautiful piece of art. And just to see that 4 days before she died, that she was still so positive and, just thinking of these beautiful images and growth. And so I was so inspired also to hear that story, because I was thinking about her strength and her spirit, days before she died. And then the legacy that now is because of what, her whole energy is everywhere. And there's been millions of impacts of joy because of what you started. So I'm so honored to have you as my friend, to have been a part of the Children's Cancer Association. What advice would you give people as far as what we could do today to really be more kind, to spark joy? What would you tell people?
Like you, Allison, I have had a career that I have just the privilege of meeting thousands and thousands of people. And every one of us has a story of our lives, right? That motivate us, that we hold inside, that sometimes we're quiet about, and sometimes we talk a lot about them. And everyone has something extraordinary that they can share, that they have a unique talent. Maybe it's singing, maybe it's art, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's finance, maybe it's strategy, right? Maybe it's leadership training like you. And I encourage, I challenge, I hope people find time in their life to be civic leaders, to be engaged in something that they are in service of others. And maybe that's an hour a month now, right? Maybe it's on a weekend that you're a part of Habitat for Humanity. Maybe you call your children's hospital and say, I want to help deliver joy, and I'm a part of a band, and we'll sing out in the courtyard, right? Or maybe you have a neighbor that needs their newspaper brought to their front door, or you can leave cookies because you're a baker, or your company could support a employee and their family, maybe for 1 month. 1 in 3 of us will have cancer in our lifetime. 1 in 4 of us will die of it. So my guess is your listeners, the people that we all connect with, will have some story that they could share of themselves and help another. Whether it's in your neighborhood, whether it sits in your office, in your family, or in your friend circle. So ask yourself, what is life asking of you? And sometimes beyond my job and family, how can I leave the world a little more beautiful than it is today? If you want to learn more about volunteering, there is Points of Light. It is a national organization. There's awards that people get for different volunteerism activities. if you want to learn more about the Children's Cancer Association and JoyRx, you can go to joyrx.org and learn more about being involved in our organization or what programs we might have in your neighborhood.
Mhm.
You can also just type in volunteering engagement.org and find out what's in your neighborhood that would be something that life is asking of you. So join Allison and I in sharing what we love and do to inspire others. And I hope you have more kindness and joy in your lives and share it with others. So,
well, thank you so much, Regina. This has been so fun to see you. And also, I leave inspired every time that I have conversations with you. And I agree, we all need to do something that is kind and match it with your talents and passion. Because if all of us were to do just one kind act a day, what a better place this would be. So thank you so much. And I will do definitely something kind today because I'm seeing you and I like to do kind acts every day. So thank you so much.
Thank you.